Okay, welcome everybody. I'm really pleased to have Brazilian percussionist, educator, performer, Dudu Tucci here he's coming in from Germany. Welcome, Dudu. Thanks for being here.
Welcome. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, Kalani.
yeah, we're excited here at World Drum Club to have you as a guest. I mean, for multiple reasons, but if you could please just introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about, what you're
Okay,
doing.
so what I'm doing or how did I get into music? Okay, so in a very brief way, I welcome you all. I am a Brazilian percussionist, but I come from a musician's family. They have been opera singers. So I was born in São Paulo City in 1955. And my father and my mother, they were both musicians in a theater in São Paulo City, in opera theater in São Paulo City. So in a very early age, I got connections and contact with musicians. Like when my father went to a general rehearsal of a Puccini opera or Verdi or any other thing, I was very young and said, you stay here behind the curtain. I was right in front of the orchestra and don't move, because this is a rehearsal. And I used to stay there and see what they talked about. And that was about 58, 59. It went as far as 1969, 60, 68, when I was 14 years old, 13 years old. And I liked this life. But my parents, they were not rich. We lived in a very small house in a very popular district of São Paulo, like Bronx in New York, something like that, named Bom Retiro, where you see people of all ethnies. I mean, you had Black, Jews, Arabs, Italians, Bolivians, Peruvians, and Armenian, Brazilians from Northeast, Brazilians from South, and this kind of moloch, I was born in. I loved this kind of life there. I see now that this taught me a lot. So being a son of two opera singers, my uncle too, that comes from my grandfather. And then they took me everywhere to learn music. They showed me guitar, they showed me piano, trumpet, contrabass, and the little Eduardo, which is my name. The nickname is Dudu, but the little Eduardo never got into that. But there were little Afro-Brazilians rituals in this little poor district named Bom Retiro, and I used to listen the grooves, and one day, I just found myself in one of these places. I really like the atabaques, the drums. And this is when I start getting into that, also wanting to play for these rituals, things like that. So with me is a combination of ethnic, popular, and classic. And this is makes me a little bit unique. I can play Baroque flute, Bach or Mozart in the flute, Friedrich Handel, but I can play a little bit of piano, I get everything. But my main instruments are the hand drumming. Hand drumming, I mean, congas and atabaques. This is something that I pay devotion, that I pay respect, that I pay love for that. And this is how I entered this life of percussionist. So my parents, they used to go to the theater every night from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I used to stay at my grandmother's house. They had rehearsals every single day. And I used to be brought up in my grandmother's house because they need money to pay the rent, things like that. And my aunt had a boyfriend named Nelson Cabelinho. And this guy, one day he looked at me and said, hey, can you do like this? When you play the hand like thing like with two hands on the table. And I said, yeah, I can do this. And I did this. I was about 4 or 5 years old. This is the latest remembrance of my life in percussion. And then this man looked at me and said, you have rhythm, you have rhythm. And I was a little boy, I didn't know what rhythm is. I didn't know what, you have rhythm. And then I took it to my heart, I have rhythm, I have rhythm. And can you do the little train, like a floating hand played with the, and I did, yes, you have rhythm, you have rhythm. That's it, that was it. There was even before. So I always start to love this. You have rhythm. You have rhythm. It really entered in my soul. And then but not necessarily. I really took it this seriously. I want something else. At that time, there was the Beatles, 1962, 1963, 1965 come The Help, and then 66 come Rubber Soul. 67, my father come to me with a record and say, this is for you. It was a Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, 1967. I was 12 years old. I said, this is strange music for a 12 years old guy. And picture yourself in a boat down the river with tangerine trees, the sky. I said, what is this? It was strange melodies, but I liked it. I kept on listening. Then I want to play with friends, but my father didn't give me a drum set. He gave me a little marimba, 2 bongos, so I could not play with my friends because the Ringo Starr play no bongos, play only drum set. And so I was put out, I was banned, and I was very, very sad for that. I was very sad. But when Santana came along with Abraxas, with Jingo, I said, oh, wow, take a look at that. But in Brazil, there are lots of prejudice. If you play drum, they say you're a voodoo maker, thing like that. And I got sometimes this kind of experience, playing with friends on the stage. Hey, out with this macumba, out. We're just drum set. Okay. So I continue, and then I went to go to America. I went to America for a student exchange project. I stayed in Virginia Beach. I said about my congas, so I was about 18 years old. And then I wanted to play with my friends because of these Beatles. Then there was a Led Zeppelin and Jethro Tull. And then I said, wow, there was one guy who plays flute. It was a Jan Anderson. So I started to study flute, but they didn't have at that time classic pop flute or a blues flute or a jazz or rock. They had only Mozart, and then it didn't fit. I mean, Friedrich Handel with Beatlemania, So I started playing the bongos, and whenever there was a time for me, but then I started going to literature, and then I decided to go around in South America. I was about 20 years old, teaching a little bit of English, a private teacher. I used to teach English in order to make my money. And then I flew to New York and called my father and said, listen, I don't know what I am. And I'm going down, I'm going back, I'm coming back, but overland. My father almost had a heart attack. No, when he said this, I turned off the phone. And then I was I went from New York to this Virginia Beach. I saw the friends, again, because 3 or 4 years before I was there as a student exchange. And then I said, well, now I didn't like very much. It was in winter. So I said, I want to go home. I bought a backpack and reached down to Mexico. And then from Mexico to Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. And I started watching and seeing like a dream the South American culture. And then I went to Costa Rica. And then I went to San Andres, and then I got a boat. I had already a girlfriend named Erica Verillo, lives in America. She was a flutist. It's very funny. And her teacher used to play in São Paulo Orchestra, where I used to see it with to visit with my father because of the opera professions of my parents. So then we went to Colombia. I went to Colombia, Cartagena, we closed, and start to listen vallenato, cumbia, salsa, mambos, everything. And then I arrived in Quito. This is 1976. I was 21. I arrived in Quito with $20. And then I don't know what I did. I started to teach English because I found somebody in the same night that I arrived who had just been dismissed as an English teacher. Said, wow, if you want to, I was in this little hotel, and he said to me, if you want a job, they need an English teacher now. Go there tomorrow. And I was lucky. I went there and got it. I spent about 6 months. And then after the 6 months, I split from Erica, and she went down. When I say down, it's in direction to Peru. Now going to South America. We were in Ecuador. And then I some week later, I went also in order to Peru, and then I crossed Peru, Machu Picchu, Titicaca, Lima, all these places, and then I went to Bolivia. And then when I arrived in Santa Cruz, I was tired and said, go to the airport, look for Brazilian Air Force, and say that you want to go back to São Paulo. It's about 2 hours, and pay them some money. And they transported me to São Paulo 1 year later. And then I went back to Bom Retiro with my father there. It was a Saturday. And after 1 year, and then he opened the door, it was me. But I had a problem. I didn't know what, I didn't know what to be. And then one day I asked myself, what the hell are you? What are you? What are you? You've been traveling and reading books and attending courses like dancing, modern dances or theater. What are you? And then in my mind, my soul, I saw the little pair of bongos that my father had given me when I was 3 or 4 years old. And then I said to my spirit, listen, if after this question you propose a bongo, I will be a percussionist. And then my life was very fast. And then I started playing bongos, and I start to remember what I learned when I was playing in this Umbanda, these little religions where I founded the tabaxi drum. And that became a professional. I did 1.5 years of percussion university in São Paulo City, percussion composition. And then I played for a dancer, Ismael Ivo, who became a celebrity. And then it was already 77, 81, 82, I was already playing in Jazz Fest Berlin. I closed everything. That was with me. And I also played in a young orchestra when I was about 22, 23, after I had come from this long travel in South America. I applied for the university, and then the teacher was a timpani player in orchestra. Now you go there, maybe you can find a place. So I also played a little bit of timpani in younger orchestras like Bruckner, things like this. But I want to tell you this because one of the musicians, Roardo, I still remember, he one day said, come here, Dudu. And I came. He said, you are not a classic percussionist. You are not. You are popular. What you have to take from the classic is that you know how much we practice. So if you get a popular instrument and you practice like a classic a musician. You'll be great because the talent you already have. And I listened to him. I asked for a dismissal, and I started doing popular stuff. And I look for teachers like Dinho Gonçalves from São Paulo. He's over 80 years old. And he showed me a little bit of things. I mean, because the sounds I already had, the most important things I learned as a child, he was very impressed by my way of taking the sounds, and other teachers that came later on. And then the life started moving, and I came to Germany, and then I decided to stay in Just Fest Berlin 1982. And I was accepted by the musician at that time. And this is how I became a percussionist. And I was very much influenced by the berimbau from Mr. Naná Vasconcelos, from the music of Ayrton Moreira, you know, all Weather Report, you know, San Carlos Santana. But after this long trip in South America, my heart changed. It was not Jethro Tull much important. It was samba, was Baião, Chico Buarque, Gilberto Gil, Djavan, and Paulinho da Viola, and all the Brazilians. And then I started getting into this world of being Brazilian, aware of Brazilian culture, not being Brazilian, aware of a foreigner culture. So I started being Brazilian. This cultural imperialism, like brainwashing. But it was good because I still love Lennon McCartney. They are simply genius, you know, or Ian Anderson. But I said that you have to have a certain space for your own culture. So I was introduced to pandeiro, to the repiniques, and then to candomblé, which is even deeper Brazilian culture. And I still studying. I am a master that practices. I am always practicing, you know. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I want to touch on two things that you said, and then let's take some questions. But two things that you mentioned that resonated with me, and one is that approaching the instrument, whether it's a folk instrument, popular instrument, as a classical instrument, in other words, take it seriously and practice it and put in the time. And I feel like a lot of people pick up bongos or congas or djembe, and they think that because they see it, and I'm just guessing right now, I'm just saying this is my perception. I think because people see these instruments in a casual setting, that it's somehow easier or to pick up, and that you can just do it, you know, you could just pick it up and start playing it. And they don't realize, a lot of people don't realize that actually it does take a lot of practice. These are old instruments with a lot of tradition, and the techniques, even though they might seem simple and casual, they're deserving of the same attention and time and practice and focus, you know,
Yeah.
that any other class. When we say classical, what we're really talking about is European instruments mainly. That we sort of conflate those two terms. You know, we say classical instrument, it's really like European instrument. So again, you talked about that colonialism mindset, where, you know, the European instruments are taken seriously, and the folkloric or indigenous instruments are not as much, not intentionally, but I think people have that, they treat them that way. So thank you
It's a
for,
kind of a
yeah.
prejudice, you know, because it's just a skin on a piece of wood, so everybody can do this. I always said to friends, if you put a violin on the table, people are not going to get the violin and start pinching the violin or trying to play. They have respect. And the same with a piano. But if you put a drum near somebody, he's gonna go there and do, you know, and without permission, anything. So this already shows in a way, you know, how the percussion instruments are treated. I had the opportunity of playing on the stage with great panlogo drummers. You may know Mustafa Tediadi When I arrived 1983, this man was one of the best panlogo players. He's from Ghana. He still lives, over 80 years old. He was 42 at that time. I was in Vienna, is 1983. And I saw Mustafa playing. I saw his nephew, Ajadi, and with him I did tours, the Adi families from Ghana. And then I had also the opportunity to play with Mamadi Keita. In 1996, I played together with Mamadi. And this was an incredible master. He's just late, he just departed, he died some months ago. I tell you something, his sound was so clear. When he hit the drum, you could see a bubble of space, of light when he played. And when I saw that, I could not believe what my eyes saw. I said, wow. And then one of my intuition masters came to me and said, don't look at these hands because you are not going to be able to play. He's going to hypnotize you. Play your stuff and forget his hands because that's him. And this was the Mama Decatur, and we spent a week together. It was me, him, and Terry Bozzio in 1996, and we stayed together 6 days in a percussion festival. And every day, it was the most beautiful conversation that we had. A djembe player, me, and I learned. And then I also met Nick Marrero with Patato Valdez. And we had dinner together. Richie Garrate Garcia, and many others. In Brazilian, Carlinhos Brown, Nana, Trilho Gurto. I was, Glenn Vélez in Korea, Los Papines in Salvador, and also in Korea, the Rumberos, Los Papines. And I was around many great masters, but they were always practicing. I never saw one of them say, oh, no. Karnataka School of Percussion from South India, Karnataka School of Percussion, the Meister Mani, they also died from this year. It was very old. And these guys were simply a dream to know how they make the instrument, like a chamber, like a pandog, like a conga, or like a frame drums, how makes the sounds. The thing is that our spirit wanted the least to show the most. That's what I would like to say. So I could go to flute, I could go to piano, I could go to singing, but my being said, you go to the least, only a drum, and from this here, you're gonna make lots of sounds and possibilities, musical possibilities. I think it's this. If you play a berimbau, man, a berimbau, it's not even a coda, it's just one string, and you can make surprise people with so much poesy, musical poesy. It's beautiful.
It really is, and that was another question I was going to ask you is what was it, if you can remember? And I'm just curious because I think we all have different reasons. But what was it about the bongos or the drum that drew you to it? Do you think over some of the other instruments that you were exposed to, or what was it about the music?
I understood your question. The fascination of a repeating groove. The fascination of a pattern that it is perfect in itself. If I do tunka ka kum ta kum tum ka ta kum tum ka tum ta kum tum ka ta kum tum ka tum, and then you see that it becomes alive and involves you, and you are taken by just this pattern, and you can dream musically. I always say about music, musically, lots of dreams. You can dream inside of that. You are attracted, you're hypnotized, and this opens rooms in your mind. I'm going to understand I understood your question, and I'm going to tell you why also I became a conga player or a tabaque player, hand drum. I usually, when my mother did the dishes, she used also to clean the toilet room. And because in Brazil, you cannot throw, at that time, you could not throw the toilet paper in a flush. You had to put in a bucket. And she had this bucket, and she cleaned the bucket. And I used to go there to get this bucket, go to a room, put the bucket between my legs and play. And then I put myself in trance. And then I went and I played, and then suddenly I opened my eyes. It was not as if I were not there. And this feeling, or this musical room, not to say transit, this musical room, only the drums give it to me. The flute does not give it to me. The piano, the words, the singing, but the drum takes me to another room, which I feel satisfied, pleasant, and then I come back. And this was the thing that always took me to the drums. Not the other instruments didn't have this effect. Maybe this is why I decided to play drums. Not because of aesthetic stuff, not because of Carlos Santana, not because I was attracted. My brother is a psychologist, and he said, even if you don't know, your being, your psyche will take you to things that you need. So if you know, even if that your little rational world say, the bigger world is beyond your rationality, much beyond. And then I start meeting these people and playing, but I still practice. I still practice because it does good to me. I feel happy when I practice. It's something between me and my soul.
That completely makes sense. Thank you for talking about that. So let's open it up to anybody. If you have a question, you can actually raise your hand and then unmute yourself, or just raise the hand in the. There's a way to do that in the chat room, I think, because I don't know if I'm seeing everybody.
I see 4 people.
So, yeah, I can see a few. I can see 6, but I don't know if that's everybody. So
I see one guy with congas there, with 3 congas, yellow and red congas. Yeah,
that's Raymond.
Nice to see that.
So, if anybody has a question, just raise your hand, and I'll just say your name so we can not talk over each other. But
somebody coming there, awesome. Hello.
Hi. Okay. Vic, do you have a question?
Before you ask questions, I would say that in all kinds of music, the most important thing of the music is the sound. I mean, it does not take long. I mean, it's something a little bit without results to play the groove without having sounds. To play an instrument without the sound, because the sound is your soul. If your sound maybe is a little bit like this, you have to work the sound. So work the soul and the sound. The sound is Om. The music is sound. And so you have a little universe when you play. It doesn't matter which instruments, the sound must be present. And this is what I have in my heart. This is what I have. I always look for the sound and then the groove. So I have 2 ways of practicing. I practice sounds and I practice grooves. And I practice also visualization. I see myself playing faster, lower, and many other mental techniques. This I would like to tell you.
Great advice, and true. Questions, anybody?
No questions. Oh, I'm disappointed. Did I say something bad?
You overwhelmed them.
Did I say no? So I show one thing that I got it in 1985. But wait a minute.
Okay. I love show and tell.
Do you see this? What is this? What is this?
Wow. That's a
It's a
giant
piece of
board.
wood. This is
Yeah.
where I exercise. I put on my lap, yeah, and I exercise the slaps. I put the slaps and do. And my floating hands, you know, this is I still with me. I call this the holy wood, the holy wood. My wife Krista, we found this in Frankfurt in 1985, and we are now 2021. I still have with me. I'm very happy because when I had to practice sounds because of concerts, you know, I go here and I. This one thing. This is for repique de mão. You know, if I go, let's see if I can do it now. Here. Here. Huh?
We're losing your sound a little bit. I think if you can turn on original sound, we can hear
I
it.
think that I practice also tanduns and pandeiros. This off from my pandeiro. You know, I have a fascination with providing the sound, that the sound goes in air, that the sounds make itself present. And this is one thing that I am addicted to it, always looking for sounds. Not new sounds, the sound of the instrument that you play. That has nothing to do with effects. It's the sound that, like my voice sound, my sound. Maybe I got that from my father because he was an opera singer. He was always cultivating his sound, his voice. And I got that osmotic. I got it, you know, and I still carry with me. I don't like to have a thin sound. I like to have a present sound. That's it.
So I want to ask you about that because I agree with you. And I always tell people, a lot of people focus on the instrument, like they want to have a better sounding instrument, right? Like, I want to get a good sounding drum. People, of course, we all should have a nice instrument, but the instrument is only going to help you realize your potential. But where does the sound come from? It comes from here a lot, right? So you're practicing on a piece of wood to improve your sound. So I'm wondering how you practice on a piece of wood. How does that help you improve the sound on your drum? And if I may, to me, it seems like you're investing in this. You're investing in this, in the sound of your hand hitting a piece of wood. So if you can get that to sound good, it should sound really good when you play the drum. Am I on the right path?
Yeah, it's like, for instance, let's see a boxer. He has a sand sack. Let's see a drum set player. They have practicing pads, rubber practicing pad with different kinds of rubber, you know. And by us, like playing congas or atabaques, we have the wood because I can feel the position. I can feel the position of the drum. I can also understand the slap fingers, you know, and the different kind of slaps. So when I play it right, it sounds like a slap. But when I play in open tone, my three fingers are flat, very flat, and I play with this part of the hand here, and the hand is relaxed. I get a very deep sound. And then let's see, Carlos Santana, he has a little gadget. When he steps that, his volume is like, wow. But with us, the gadget is here. You have to spend more more force in order the sound sounds. You know, if you play in a big band, or if you play in a bateria and you have to make a solo, like a soloist, like djembe soloist, if he plays as loud as the side djembe, it sounds wrong, because the frequencies sometimes are against each other, the offbeats that he uses. So he has to play considerably louder, so it becomes a solo. So you have also to devote your hands to this kind of stuff. If you have ideas of soloing, you know, if you solo, even with microphone, if you play like, you know, it comes like this. You have to show your soul, not yourself, your sound, the sound that you have in your mind. Like Jimi Hendrix, for instance, he had a vision. My sound is like this. And working with this piece of wood, or I play on the piece of wood, but I can play on the table. I can play on a table also, but it has to be something that is dry. So you just check the position and the movement of your wrist, and sometimes you shall not lift up your arm. So you put your thumb and you do. So because the thumb connection connect to your arm, and you cannot do this. So you play here, you go. Then with leg, you know, and I play in all dynamics. I play low, middle, and loud. But there are months that I just play middle. I don't go like this. This is not my aim anymore. But I still check my slaps on wood. I don't listen to you now.
With with that,
Yes.
I had to move my mouse. I don't know why. So we had a couple of questions in the chat. One from, I'm going to go backwards. One from Raymond was asking about, I'm going to ask both questions and then you can answer. Raymond was asking about a warm up that you would do on the wood, because of course, if it's wood, a warming up is important. But he said, what is your favorite warm up on the wood plank? And then Larry wanted to know, just to clarify, when you talk about the sound, are you talking about the individual tones or something else?
Okay. Talking about the sound, I'm talking about the individual tones, because, for instance, a conga instrument, a Congan instrument, may have the bass, may have the slap, may have the open tone, may have the muffle, which is intermediate between the open and the slap, is very hybrid sound, and some extra sound that the percussionist may find for himself. So I check all these sounds. I just don't, okay, I check all these sounds. I don't check only the slap or only the open tone. But between all these sounds, slap, muffle, open, tips, heel, you know, you use lots of slaps and open tone. And then the more you do, it's like wine. The more you devote time for that, it grows. Like the sound may be also like a plant. It comes within the time. It's a very slowly process. For the warm up, Mr. Raymond, it depends what you want to study. If you wanted, for instance, to study this movement, so you put the two hands with these three fingers to slap position, and you do taka 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 taka, and you do, and then you go to open, and then you combine it. Then tuku taka taka tuku. Ta do do ta do do ta, and then you go to the floating hands, and then you go to the float like this, or 1-2-1, do do gaga, do do gaga, do do gaga, and then you go to tips, and then you go to speed. These are all warm-ups. I mean, the thing is that we have to incorporate the exercise as musically as possible. The music is the aim. What you have to say musically is this a double stroke that now is a very trendy to play double strokes in lots of double strokes and double strokes and double strokes. You know, I have been practicing double stroke for more than 20 years. No, but I would say warm up with the floating hands and then open the slap. Tutu tata, tutu tata, tutu tata, tuku tata, tuku tata. And then you see if you're not doing 16ths or if you're not doing 30 seconds, you know, you start teaching yourself. We are very much used to be students, but we're very much not used to be our own teachers. We all have the potential to, you know, to be a master of ourselves within discipline and observation. You have to be aware. You have just to be aware to what you do, because it maybe you start doing something and you fall asleep. I mean, when I say fall asleep, it means you lose the attention, and then you become automatically, you're not thinking anymore, you're not inquiring anymore, you're not observing anymore, you're not present anymore. Music is very powerful. If you start doing tidi da da tidi da, maybe you have a dream, you go to another room. That's what I'm talking about. So you have to be present, and you have to be present when you exercise, and why you exercise, what you're looking for, what does your soul want. Sorry, the soul does not speak. We speak. The soul gives us intuition, and we have to guess what kind of what this intuition that our soul is giving to us. You know, so that's it.
I'm so glad that you just said what you said about being a student and a teacher. And I always remind people that, you know, we are our own best teachers. We have to be, right? Nobody else can really teach you. You have to teach yourself with guidance from others, right?
Yeah.
And another thing I like to remind people and myself is that every instrument will teach you how to play it, because it's giving you feedback, right? It's giving you immediate. You're listening. You listen. You do something, right? You put in an effort. And what do you get back? You get back a result. You get back feedback. So the drum, the instrument, is always guiding you. You know, it's always going to say, "Oh, no, that wasn't quite right. Change it a little. Okay, that was better." You know, so it's always talking to you. The drum's always telling you what to do, if you know where you want to go and you can listen. But like you said, you've got to be paying attention. You've got to be involved, right? You're involved in that feedback process of learning.
For instance, I would like to complete. I agree with you 100%. But you have to guide yourself. I mean, to guide when you practice. And the drum that is outside is not the drum that is inside of you. And the real drum is the drum that's inside of you, is the imagination that you have about your drum. Sometimes people don't tell that. You know, when I was talking to Terry Bozzio, he was a friend of Jeff Beck. He is a friend of Jeff Beck, and he said, you can give Jeff any kind of guitar, a $20 guitar, it will sound like Jeff Beck. So the message is that there is a moment that the instrument gets inside of you and becomes parts of you and grows in you, and you can see it, feel it inside of you with your intuition. It's not like television that you see the drum inside of you. No, you are the drum yourself. The sound coming from your hand is the drum that you have in yourself speaking for itself. If I give culture to it, if I feed with grooves, with sounds, with different kind of grooves and breaks, it will transform it inside of ourselves and come out again. This is the process of creativity. That's why some of the musicians, they create their own grooves, they create their own licks, you know, because these are the musical idea. But this happens when the instrument is already introjected, that you study so much that it became part of you. And then you come to the point of the Chinese citat, that there is a Chinese saying that it says, a real musician needs no instruments. Now I know what it is. I know what it is. It's the introjection of the instrument. The drum is part of you. You carry the drum wherever you are. You can play it in a subway. You can play mentally. You can play on a drum. You can play in cardboard boxes. The way you see in Africa, people make their own instruments. Army, they are so poor. They are very rich. They have the sounds in themselves. They have little things, and not like us with so many instruments, but the real drum is not in ourselves. I don't know. My process is this, and I speak for myself.
No,
And
that is
somebody
an
made a question here, the chat 3. I don't know. Somebody has to speak about.
yeah. Let's get any other questions because I don't want to keep Dudu too long. I'm loving this conversation though, but we're at about the time where we need to think about wrapping up. But we do have there's definitely time if anybody has any other questions, you could put it in the chat or you can just ask it.
I also would like to say, like, when you were talking about the practicing, there was a word that came to my mind, is the inner dialogue. A real musician, they have real dialogue, and he talks or feels or has an intuition, perceive the soul, the inner dialogue. How am I playing well? Am I playing good? Is the position okay? Uh, because if you do a millimeter to the right or to the left, it's not the same sound anymore. It changed, and this is the fascination of the stuff. So sometimes we found ourselves by practicing. This is what happened. We found ourselves when you make a recording and somebody starts to criticize, and you see yourself in the tape, and you hear yourself. So it's a matter of awareness and inner dialogue, musically speaking.
Yeah, I think what you said is really true about the instrument, the soul, the drum, speaking from within and externalizing what is inside, as an artist, and that's good, and it's also what makes playing music in front of other people a very vulnerable thing for a lot of people, and that unfortunately a lot of people don't play instruments and don't play music because they don't want to be criticized, or they feel like they might be embarrassed, right? Especially when they get teased or people say things, put them down. Like you mentioned on stage, people were saying, "No, don't play that
Yeah,
macumba or whatever,"
yeah.
because there is a prejudice sometimes. But Larry had a request, and that was he'd like you to. It's in the chat. He said, "Could you please talk about your choice to play congas in samba versus other choices like penderu, tamborim, repique de mão, etc."
What choices? I didn't understand the question.
I guess it's yeah. I mean, when do you decide to play a conga in a samba as opposed to other more, I guess, traditional Brazilian instruments
Well,
or other smaller instruments? I'm not
I
really sure. Yeah.
I start playing this when I was a child, and then I closed that. I closed that in a closet. I closed this, and I went to Jethro Tull, Beatles, Santana, and all this stuff. They were also good for me. But then when I decide to be a percussionist, after this question that I saw the little bongos that my father gave me as a gift when I was a very young boy, you know, I opened this closet. I opened this place, and this closet is my memory. I went back to my memory and revisit my memory, and I found the barravento, I found the Congo, I found the samba de caboclo, and I started playing. And I started playing by dancers, with dancers. In some groups, I start making percussion and put it inside there and crossing with Cuban stuff, making a kind of salad or a mixture between Brazil and Cuba. Because I'm not Cuban, I'm Brazilian. I love Cuban percussion: Mozambique, guaguancó, rumba Columbia, songo, yuca, macuta, palo. I have been to Cuba already 3 times, and I love it. So it's a flirt, it's a love affair with the Cuban percussion. But my soul speaks in Bantu origin grooves, which is lots of syncopation, and this is, I devote my existence to the study and playing that. And then of course, there are moments that you in a samba you need more a shaker or a tambourine or a pandeiro. I can play all these samba instruments, a surdo. So I always, in my level, I try to balance all these voices, these rhythms, so that the production of the music, like in a CD or in a recording, gets fine.
Awesome. Dudu, thank you so much for you. There's so much we can learn from you, and I want to encourage everybody to follow through with you and get in touch, or find out more about what you're doing. Could you just let everybody know how they could do that, where they can find you if you're doing projects?
The www.dudu dash tucci.te. It's very easy. www.dudu-tucci.te. And I have also a website, like Dudu Tucci in Brazil, Power Drums. There is in Messenger, you can get in touch with me. I may in a coming future give online classes, but I'm not still active on that. Still not. And I would say that about nowadays, there are so many possibilities for people to learn, like your channel. I saw your channel several times. And one day 3 years ago, before I met you, I was seeing you interview, maybe it was in China, this Ramon Montagnier. And this guy making this 30-second, and you were saying, wow, you do this. You start laughing and said, this is, do you think that came from the sky out of the blue? This is practice in millions of hours, And he was very, very humble. It's like this. It's a treasure. And so which means that I want to say that channel like your channel, beautiful channel about all kinds of music, how to teach, and samba and Cuban, djembe and rum, and everything that you offer people, so they get aware, or they wake up to a kind of instrument they like to, and also the YouTube and many other things. But one thing is, you have to interject the instrument that you want in your side of you. And when the 2 points, the outside, meet the inside, and then there is music. Because without information like yours, like information of a World Drum channel and other channels, in other musicians, in books, there are millions of books. You have to acquire that. You have to assimilate. And this is how you assimilate the groove. This is the information. And then you put your soul inside there. Never let an information without soul, because it does not live. It does not go ahead. It does not grow. Everything that makes it grow is our attention, our being, and our soul. So every information is welcome. If you find information, it's welcome. But then you have a commitment. You put your soul inside there.
That is a beautiful sentiment. Thank you for that. And a reminder that at the end of the day, it is about the music, and it's about what it means. If it's about us inside, we are the musicians. The music comes from us. And I love that you talked about at the beginning when you had that moment, and the teacher or whoever that was, or your uncle or somebody, said, "You have rhythm."
Yeah.
You have
the
rhythm.
boyfriend of my aunt.
The boyfriend of your aunt.
Yeah. And I was whipped out. Wow. And this was enough to grow what I am today. I found myself.
I think that's
that moment.
That's so important because so many of us don't. We almost have the opposite of that sometimes, right? We have criticism and the negativity that sometimes comes from. It can come from parents or peers or teacher, and it's hard to overcome. So we become scared of music because it doesn't feel safe to do music in public or to even do music at all. So I'd like everybody to remember, like, take that message and just think of that as for yourself, right? You have
But
rhythm.
you have the
You
rhythm.
can
You
do
have the
it.
rhythm.
You have a soul. You have a music soul. And and let's carry that message.
That's it. I appreciate. I thank you for watching this live dialogue that I had with Kalani, and I also thank you, Kalani, very much. World Drum Club. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you sometime. Or if you come to Europe, just ring the bell. I will be here.
All right.
Come
Yes.
to them, all
We're
right?
all gonna come.
All right.
We'll organize a trip. All right. Thank you, Dudu. Appreciate it so much. And yeah,
Welcome.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Uh,
Bye. Bye.
we'll see you. All right. Bye
Bye.
bye. Have a good weekend. Have a good
Thank
day,
you too.
everybody.
Bye.
All right. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you.